Hi everyone, Leigh Woisard. I am a communicator. I've been a communicator for over 35 years. I was asked to speak on the topic of imposter syndrome. So here goes from my house. Many years ago, I was asked to be a guest speaker at an event. And so I arrive at the event early, situate myself at, it's banquet with all those tables of 10, and I'm sitting in the audience and I sit down, I'm feeling pretty good. And then as I'm sitting there waiting for my turn to go on, I start to have these thoughts in my head, and I think things like, wow, this is a bigger audience than I anticipated. And look at that stage. That is a full-on big stage with like a spotlight. And then I start to think, wow, that speaker that just went on, that speaker's remarks so much better than what I have planned. Oh my gosh, how did I ever think I could do this? My remarks aren't going to be good enough. And just wait till they start asking me questions. And, I started sitting down like this. And by the time these thoughts are running through my head, I'm literally like, I caved in on myself like this. And sure enough, welcome to the stage, Leigh Woisard. And I get up there, and the only way to adequately describe my remarks is it was like a locomotive train barreling down tracks, totally out of control, saying things whether I plan to say them or not, talking fast, distractingly fast. I can hear my voice, but my voice no longer sounds like me because it's in this high pitch, anxiety ridden voice that I've never heard before. And just when I think it cannot get any worse, this happens. I'm on the stage with a dress, and all of a sudden I feel my knees start to quiver. And I can't tell whether they're just moving slightly or if they are really shaking and the whole audience is staring at my knees. And I'm too afraid to look down there, right? And so it just becomes another huge distraction for me. And I feel like I'm having this meltdown in front of all these people. So what happened to me that day? What derailed me? I did prepare, probably not enough. I went to the venue early, kind of speaking 101. And what derailed me that day was me, right? And the voices in my head. And speaker anxiety is not the same as imposter syndrome, but they're definitely distant cousins, right? So imposter syndrome, it's this nagging, dogging voice in your head that says you don't belong to be here. The only success you've had is because you've been duping people, right? You really don't know your stuff, right? It happens at the most inopportune times, speaking occasions, interviews, negotiating a salary, right? And imposter syndrome reportedly happens to women much more than it happens to men. It happens to minority women more so than white women, right? So what do you do about it? These are a few fixes that I found to be helpful to me. One is just the realization that this is happening and that it happens to other women has been so empowering to me. To know that Maya Angelou, Michelle Obama, Lady Gaga, so many successful, high-achieving women report having this imposter syndrome. So for me, now when I hear that voice in my head, I can realize that it's not based on anything that I deserve. It's something now that I can say, you're doing it again. Stop doing it. So this notion of other women going through it has been very empowering to me. So how do you spend time with other professional women to talk these issues through? Big believer in professional organizations. Like in my industry, we have something called Women in Cable Telecommunications, or WIC, right? They have programs and workshops where women get up and share their experiences and talk about it. That can be very, very empowering. Find your sense of confidence that's going to help you get through and wrestle that inner voice to the ground when it's not positive. My sense of confidence is not going to be the same as it is for you. So I need to be prepared. I need to be over prepared. That's important to me. Some women talk about affirmation, positive thoughts going through your head. And I have found, for example, when I have to give a speech, I will picture that speech going really well in my head. I will picture newer professional, younger women coming up to me afterwards and saying, what you said was so helpful to me. Thank you, right? So those positive thoughts. People report things like, if you've ever seen the TED Talk, Amy Cuddy, who does the posing video, right? She talks about how being conscious about how you're carrying yourself. If you're like this, caving in yourself, feeling small, that does nothing for your confidence. If you're standing and posing, sends messages to your brain that spark confidence. So Amy Cuddy's video is definitely a much watch. Do what works for you. I have to give a big presentation, a big speech. Don't even look at my credit card weeks before, because I have definitely gone out and splurged on a nice pair of shoes, because it's just one of those small things that help me to feel really good about myself and confident. Don't gloss over your achievements. Know how to take a compliment, right? How many of us, and I found I did this myself for years, is focus on the negative and never pat yourself on the back for the things that you have accomplished and the things that are going really well. At the company that I work for, Cox Communications, we take end of year performance evaluations very seriously. So at the end of the year, you sit down one-on-one with your boss. Your boss runs through everything that's going well and perhaps some needs, areas of development opportunity, right? And for me, what I would do is I would sit down with my boss, and my boss could go over 97% really good stuff that I've been doing all year long, and just a small fraction of development opportunity, things I need to work on. As soon as I get out of that one-on-one meeting, there's a written review. I take that written review and I'm flipping through all the good stuff, and I'm going right to the negative. I want to see the negative stuff that was said and dwelling on the negative. And that's ludicrous. Know how to take a compliment. Focus on the good that you've achieved. And then lastly, this is a must for maybe new professionals. If you have not seen Tina Fey's movie Mean Girls, it is required viewing. So in a nutshell, high school setting, the lead character is Regina George. She is a mean girl. She lives to take other girls down by saying nasty things. And as women, we've always had to deal with mean girls. We've had to deal with people who are uncomfortable in their own skin, and they feel better about themselves by saying things that make you feel not so good about yourself. You can't control what's going on externally. You can control what's going on in your own head. So don't be your own Regina George. If you're going to hear voices in your head, make sure they're positive ones. Thank you. I'm Leigh Woisard. I hope this helped.